Hey everybody, it's Nathan from Barely Tactical, and as you may have seen, we took out our handy dandy Type 81 this weekend. Put about 300 rounds through it, which brings our grand total up to about the 700 round mark. By most people's standards, that's well past the break-in period. The Canadian break-ins, 50 rounds. If it works, go put a video on YouTube. We strive for bigger and better than that here, so we're getting up to the 1,000 round mark, and then we're going to do updates along the way. And while we clean this gun today, we're actually going to do some checks on wear points, see how it's holding up to the abuse. We're exclusively shooting your Norinco steel-cased corrosive ammo. That's what this gun was designed for. That's what this gun deserves.
Why did you make me do this?
Now, for this cleaning project, we are not going to use any fancy science. I'm not going to use my ultrasonic cleaner. Some people might not have access to that, and we want to keep this accessible to Joe Average, the Barely Tactical fan base. So, what are you going to need to do this, the same way your granddad would have? Let me walk you through it. We're going to get Ballistol or some sort of CLP. If you prefer to use a cleaner and a lubricant separate, by all means, bust out that Hops number 9 kit you got from Canadian Tire back in 2005 that you still haven't cracked the plastic on. That would totally do it. We're going to use, your housemate's toothbrush, ex-girlfriend, steal your neighbor's, just get a dirty old toothbrush, if you find one in the garbage, or be smart, keep your old toothbrushes when they're a little too rough for your teeth, keep them for cleaning guns. Some people are more of the Q-tip variety. I like to use both kind of here and there. These ones have a round end and a pointed end, so I find they work pretty good for cleaning guns. We're going to use the good old-fashioned cleaning rod with a jag. Some people are like, oh, why don't you use a bore snake? We're going to assume you don't even own a bore snake. We're going, for the real troglodytes of the gun community. Bore snakes are great. They're high speed. Do they clean as well? That's for you to decide. I'm just a simple man sitting in a basement with a mild sweat on, about to clean a gun.
I'm just a simple man trying to make my way in the universe.
To go along with your cleaning rod, cleaning patches. Some are caliber specific, some give you a range. These are good from 270 to .35. That'll be great for, our .311 or .313 diameter 7.62 by 39 barrel. That'll work great. And then something to wipe things up with. Paper towel is great. It's cheap, but it's one use. For the real tree huggers out there, what I recommend you do is get that lucky t-shirt you've been holding on to since college that, despite all your best efforts to stay in shape, will just never fit again. Chop that bad boy up, and you have excellent shop rags. So now that we've shaken down all the bits that we need, let's go through the parts we're actually going to be cleaning. The obvious, the action and barrel. The barrel's going to have all the burnt carbon and residue in the rifling, and your chamber area is going to have all your fun burnt on carbon, grease from the action kind of getting around. Your corrosive salts will be in there. And speaking of corrosive salts, not to be forgotten, an ammonia-based cleaner. Some people think it's overkill, some people swear by it. Something with ammonia to neutralize those corrosive salts that the corrosive ammo leaves all up in your gas system in your barrel. Moving on from the action and barrel, there's your muzzle device. Easy enough. We're going to wipe out the ports, wipe down the bore, clean up the threading if anything got into there. Moving back from that, we have our gas system. We have our piston, which is nice and crunchy. We have the spring to keep that all together, and our gas selector / little port guy here. The guy you can crank side to side to change what gas setting you're on. I'm just going to call it a gas key, gas selector. You tell me the real name. I'm sure you will. Good old dust cover. And the bolt carrier. This guy is nice and sludgy. Shot this gun a couple days ago, and I took the liberty of just hosing everything down in Ballistol. You don't have to let it sit for 3 days. You could spray this all down and start cleaning immediately. I just didn't have the time, so that's kind of where we ended up. So, behind the philosophy of how often you should clean your guns, some people are really particular, and every time you shoot, you should do a right down to the pins clean. I would tend to agree if you're shooting corrosive ammo or it's a really nice gun you care about. But, you know, there's tons of old Ruger 1022s out there that have been shot for decades and cleaned once, and they're working just fine. For a Type 81, I would really recommend cleaning it more often than not, just due to the nature of the ammo you're shooting. And, you know, these are cheap, but they weren't super cheap guns. It's nice to take care of them a little bit. There, now you're watching me haphazardly hack up a t-shirt. This is the real, you know, nitty-gritty stuff. We do it live. You guys will see in our videos, like, oh, you guys kind of fumbled this, or that looked a little clumsy. It's like, well, we don't script any of this stuff. We don't have a production team that has a spare gun in the corner. You know, I don't have a fancy production team pre-chopping up shirts for me. This is all live, real, in the flesh. When we get that famous, you guys will be the first to know, hey, we hired a production team. We're doing nothing for realsies anymore. And you guys can make of that what you will. And I like to kind of keep my parts organized, like a clean and dirty section. It'll be pretty obvious to notice which parts you've already cleaned, but for the sake of keeping track, you know, maybe you're clumsy or don't read that good or easily distracted. You know, you're doing this in between beers and cigarettes. You know, God knows what happens, and you miss a couple parts. So I am going to use this little pizza box grease catcher as kind of like a divider. I'm going to put all my clean parts over here, dirty parts over there. So let's get started with some of the little parts and kind of get some progress going here. So, you know, we're going to tip to butt the Garand thumb way, except not really. I don't think he ever cleans guns on his channel. Maybe he does it, people do it for him. You know, never know. So, this guy's all greasy. We definitely have carbon in the baffles. Big surprise, that's where all the excess gas is hitting and just baking into there. But this thing is looking pretty not bad. So, let's get our little toothbrush. It's already all lubed up. We're going to scrub out all of the crumbs in here. Get it looking nice and new. I do have to say, this isn't a review on the compensator, but holy heck, does this thing do the Lord's work. Not that the Type 81 recoiled particularly heavily in the first place, but as far as like recoil mitigation goes, this thing is the bee's knees. Legs, arms, elbows, the bee's uncle, grandfather. Like, this thing kicks butt entirely. It is loud. Keep that in mind. Especially if there's someone standing beside you. When we were doing the burn down or the mag dumping with this thing, the guy standing off to the side was very much aware this thing was on versus just the factory muzzle. But that's to be expected with any muzzle brake, especially an effective one. If it's not jetting gases off to the side, it's probably not doing a whole ton for you. So the threads are pretty clean. That looks pretty alright. See a little bit of juicy goodness is coming out of there. But let's just give this thing a wipe down. We'll see kind of how we're looking. Not sure how much of this will show up on camera, but we'll do close-ups of all the parts once they are cleaned off. Oh yeah, this thing's looking great. So again, you see I'm not really scrubbing the crap out of anything. Letting that CLP do most of the heavy lifting for me. You know. And one thing I'm a pro gamer move. I keep a little garbage bag nearby so I could throw away my grease-soaked Q-tips and, you know, ripped up t-shirt, what have you, on the fly. So I don't just have this pile of crap just building up around me until I'm slowly consumed by the abyss and the mess. You know, your mileage may vary. So now, let's see, going tip to butt. You know, I'll give the threads a little wipe down here. I don't think much would have gotten on them, considering we had a muzzle device in the way. But for the sake of being thorough. Now, our gas system is kind of our next step here. Get a little Q-tip. I'm just going to go along inside that little gas key, or the hole where the gas key goes, gas port, gas block, gas thingamabob. You tell me what it is or isn't. And to be honest, a little dirty, but no massive surprise there. And you could chase this to perfection. That's totally a thing. I'll usually find a kind of good enough kind of stance for a lot of these kind of things. I'm just looking down there. There's no big crumbs. There's no, visible charred stuff in there. Just kind of wiping up little particles at this point. And yeah, we're getting some blacks. Goo, so we'll keep going. Now, everyone kind of has their own ritual. What do you guys do when you're cleaning guns? Some people crack a couple beers. Some people put, a TV show on, the movies. Maybe you're a NASCAR guy or, pro sports. You tell me your secret little ritual when you clean your guns. I want to know. Let's get intimate. We've been friends for a while, right? Your wife knows about me. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe it's a conversation you have to have soon. But in the meanwhile, gas port is totally dealt with. Kind of the next stage of the gas system, the piston. Most of this will clean off in a pretty well just a wipe. Oh yeah, that already looks better. It's more or less the face and the grooves that are going to need some love. And I'm actually going to throw a little bit of extra ballast all on. Of course, I have the wrong nozzle on, but hey, we're doing it live. We will persevere, overcome, make do. Was it improvise, adapt, overcome? Whoever Bear Grylls said, he's pretty cool, right? He knows what he's talking about. And his advice could definitely be taken out of context and applied to any situation you're in. That's what I tell myself. So that is looking pretty not bad. I don't know if you guys can see the difference already. But that was like a crunchy black. And now it's pretty well, try to contrast against the glove, pretty well polished steel again. I'm going to give it a little more of this. Wipe off all this dirty grease off the toothbrush. Give it one more little scrub. From a wear standpoint, aside from, the carbon being on, this thing looks brand new. So that is a good sign. There are a bunch of other guns out there where the gas pistons are a failure point. This is anything but. This thing is awesome. This is almost perfection. Next on the gas system, the spring. You really don't need to do anything fancy with this. And it even shouldn't really matter a ton, but it's already been sitting in CLP. A little wipe, a little squish, a little twist. Get the loose kind of stuff off. Now, boom. Oh yeah, already shiny and metal colored. Boom. This is flying by, guys. It really doesn't have to be that complicated, that hard. So this, I am expecting to be kind of dirty, because if you can imagine, gun goes boom, gas goes down the barrel, hits the gas port, some of it goes out the gun, some of it goes up and collects into here. So this should be dirty, but you know what? It kind of isn't. Holy smokes, make a liar out of me, would you? This is actually in pretty dang decent shape. Now, if you guys needed help taking your gun apart, that's not something that we're able to show on YouTube. We're trying to stay all YouTube compliant. We're not showing the modification of firearms. We're just simply showing the routine maintenance, and the gun is already taken apart. You're not going to see any of that live in the flesh, and that is for very good reason. If that's something you want to see, maybe you should go comment below, tell us what you want to see, and we'll upload that on Rumble. That's right, we're on Rumble. You should check it out. I think we only have one video on there, but not very many people have seen it. So until we see that people actually want to, see us on Rumble, we're not going to put a whole lot of effort into that. But if we start hearing, hey guys, put it on Rumble, maybe we'll just have to do that. So this guy is nice and clean now. You can see a little bit of scorch marks just from where the gas kind of burns on. You might be able to scrub that off. And you know what, just for the sake of being hardcore, yeah, you could slowly work away at it, but that, for functionality reasons, is entirely clean. So, done our muzzle device, done our gas system. Let us move on to the bolt, carrier, and spring. Now this guy is going to have a lot of kind of cooked grease and other stuff going on. We'll just give it a general wipe down and kind of see what we're working with here. You have to scrub around the bolt face. And this actually looks like it's wearing beautifully. There's a little bit where the finish is lifted, but it makes sense. These are all friction points. There's nothing ugly. There's no chip. There's no crack. All the edges are still very crisp. There's a little bit of singeing around the firing pin, but that makes sense. You're letting off explosive, or little explosions right there, right? And all that corrosive goodness is happening right close to home. So we're going to use the pointy end of the Q-tip, clean that out. And it's not really horrible. Is it clean? No, we won't be so bold to lie to you guys, but it's really not looking bad. Just a little more wiping, a little more magic. And, yeah, this is getting pretty close to being honky-dory. Now, you can get behind the lugs, get in the grooves, and it's kind of almost like scrape along with the Q-tip. Kind of get in there. Now, yeah, this rag's still doing pretty okay. Still find a little wiperoo. And this thing is pretty well good to go. For this, I am going to leave a little film of Ballistol on there, just for lubrication purposes. That'll leave a thin film. That'll be totally fine as far as the storage and keeping it ready for next use. Now this guy is dirty, and I'm actually going to use a piece of paper towel just to show you how much gunk comes off on this. Because this has like cooked lube and all sorts of good stuff. So let's just give it a little rubby rub and show you. See, that's where you're getting all your old oil, grease, that kind of stuff. But again, not completely horrible. People always talk about how dirty AK type guns are, AK adjacents, whatever you want to consider the Type 81, or how dirty shooting corrosive ammo is. I'd like to see you bring any gun that's a semi-automatic, sporting rifle, and that shoots any of the, intermediate cartridges. A 223 gun, a, 6.8 Grendel, you name it. Or even just shoot non-corrosive 7.62x39 and see if it's really that much dirtier. I really don't think it would be. Because it's not like the design is inherently more or less dirty than anything else. It's not, they don't put dirt in the bullets. It's just those corrosive salts you kind of have to worry about. And even then, how much of an issue are they really? Because there's lots of very high round count AKs and AKMs bombing around the Middle East, and I don't think they're cleaned super routinely, nor are they lubricated in, nice CLP and, loved and massaged like, our domestic guns are. So this one's a little grubby. Throw that out. So how are we looking? Well, the wear on this is spectacular. You can see a little bit of a copper kind of residue just from it scraping those top rounds. And there's no blunting really to any of the edges. There's no weird scrapes. It's all very uniform. You can see along the bottom of the carrier just where it just rubs off on those rounds. And that's totally fine. It's doing its job. But the factory finish on this, the phosphating, seems pretty durable. Seems quite adequate. I have no issues with it whatsoever. Now we're going to be going down this little channel here. If you wanted to, you put a cleaning patch at the end of your jig, push it through, and that actually isn't a terrible idea. Or just, get a couple Q-tips, make a little, stack out of them, jam it in there, roll it around, and not a ton's coming out. Again, I'm continually impressed by how not, gong show dirty this thing is. And, maybe we'll even overlay some of the mag dumping footage. We did shoot this thing. And, yeah. No, just a faint hint of gray. Yeah, that's the style, right? Touch of gray. That's what all the distinguished gentlemen of the, mid-ages are doing. And this, to me, looks just about done. Just going to keep picking around. Actually, you know what? I lied to you guys. A bonus item. A secret item that'll be useful later. Pipe cleaner, if you have it. Cool. If not, I just got some cheapy ones on Amazon. And half the time I forgot I even owned them. Just twist it up and just use that as a little dude. Put it in, out, side to side.
Hey, yo!
Just jamming it in all those crevices there. And it's coming out pretty clean, so I think we might be done here. Alright, so this guy, same as the carrier. Give that a little touch of COP. Little's a relative term. It's got a little bit of a slathering. And again, the extra will probably run off. So, boom. Bolt carrier done. We're down most of it, man. We're really moving along here. This guy, easy peasy. You won't just wipe any of the excess grease out of the spring. Make sure it doesn't get gummed up. Because not very much of anything's getting back here. So you're more or less just cleaning off last time's oil. Not that big of a deal. Again, that took me, 10 seconds. It's all nice and shiny metal. Boom. Dealt with. Dust cover. Do you even really need to clean this? I mean, watch. I'm just going to wipe the inside of it out. Once, twice, and then thrice for the outside. Boom. Dust cover. Easy peasy. Now we're moving on to the heavy duty part. So I'm going to actually put this in a gun vise, but for the sake of argument, you could do this, prop it up against anything. Just some junk you have laying around. The gun doesn't need to be upright perfectly. You just need to have it so you can fire a rod down. But for the sake of demonstrating it nicely, I'm going to throw it in my gun cradle. You know what? Maybe we're going to extend the thing out and make it fit a little nicer. All right, well, got it in here just to kind of give you a better visual on cleaning the receiver barrel and the general wipe down from this point. Remember to stay hydrated. Bonus points if you shatter a glass. So, earlier I mentioned some copper solvent. People will argue how necessary it is or isn't. I'm a big fan, just because there's almost always ammonia in that, and that will, without a shadow of a doubt, get rid of any corrosive salts you're dealing with. They might be left behind. Now this stuff, I'll do a couple patches just to kind of get them, tip it over, get a little bit of liquid on there. You don't need a ton of this. And for this, I might recommend wearing gloves. Usually I don't wear gloves when cleaning guns. You know what? Is that smart? I'll let you decide. But for this, it looks a little more professional. We look less like random jackasses and more like people that know what's going on. So, perfect. And I'm glad this is doing this. You're going to see a little bit of blue on the patch there. That is some copper being lifted and removed. So even if the corrosive salts aren't necessarily a part of concern, a part of your worries there, just getting rid of the copper jacket particles is not a bad idea either. So we'll run a couple of these patches through and let it soak in there just a little bit. Throw those bad boys out. Yeah, there's no blue in there. Not going to bother saving that. So we're going to let that bore solvent kind of do its thing. Boom, boom, boom. And now while that's happening, I'm going to wipe the exterior of the gun down. You know what? Idle hands are the devil's playthings, or whoever said what. Just go wipe the receiver down. Get down to the mag well. Shouldn't be super dirty in there, but it never hurts to wipe that off. I'm not going to pull the trigger pack out and do anything crazy. I sprayed some ballast on there. Kind of wiggle your finger around. Get it kind of in whatever spaces you can get it into.
Come on.
This doesn't have to be rocket surgery, rocket appliances, you know. We're just trying to get the loose crumbs off. So we do have a little bit of wear along the top of the receiver where the bolt carrier doesn't sink. Totally understandable. In fact, I'd be kind of weirded out if there wasn't any there, but there's no weirdness. It's not biased on one side or the other. You can see it's quite uniform just from slapping back and forth. That's what she said.
That's what she said.
So, I am going to go into the area right in front of the chamber. If you want to call that like the breech of the gun, the feeding ramp, the recesses where the locking lugs would go. Because you will find, I'll give you some contrast here, you will find there's some gunk in there. And that is also expected, right? Where is all this magic happening? This section of the gun. So we're just going to kind of wipe that out. And we're also going to get into that little hole here where the piston pops in and out of. Not a bad idea. Just mangling these cheapo Q-tips. Alright, back to the cloth. Just going to wipe our sight block off. Not that I even really need a sight block on this guy anymore. Running a red dot, but you know what? Things are always a changing over here. There's always something new and cool to try out. Hopefully I've actually wiped the side of the gun down that you're looking at, because I can't really see very well from here. Get the barrel. Wipe some of that muck off of the pistol grip here. Fore end. If you wanted to be a G, you would take the whole fore end off and see if there's any, you know, trace amounts of stuff on the underneath the barrel. There might be. I'm not telling you there isn't, but I'm also not telling you that's a big deal either. I'm going to put a cap on this guy so I don't knock it over. Ask me if I've done that before. And break the threads down, barrel. And there's your regular wear and tear. There's like little nicks from me banging it against stuff. It's a phosphate finish. It's not Cerakote. It's not gun coat. It is a very old but reliable and dependable coating. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. It's totally fine. Completely serviceable. And for a gun at this price point, I'd be surprised if they gave you anything else. You should be happy it's not just exposed steel for the for the value they're giving you on one of these guns. You know, what's in the domestic market? Anodized aluminum that like you could peel off with your fingernail. Now, fire another one of those ammonia patches through, and you can see a lot less is coming off. So now I feel pretty comfortable and switching out to a couple patches with just ballistol. And yeah, we're just gonna keep the magic rolling here. We're not gonna run any fancy jigs. Not even do a boar snake. That's too fancy. We're keeping it caveman style. This is caveman jitsu. Shout out to the crazy squeaking sounds. All right, we're lifting a little more stuff out of here. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but S&J Hardware is currently running a promotional code with us, and it is BT Buddies, and that gets you 15% off site-wide. Not just armor, not just medical supplies, anything. If it's on the website, it's included. And the code's only good for a little while longer, so if I were you, I would probably hop on over and get something while the going's still good. Now, the patches are already getting much, much better. You could chase the faintest gray streaks until the end of time. I'm going to get it to a point where I feel happy about it. Because Lord knows, in not the far future, I'm going to be shooting the crap out of this thing again. So, now that the patches aren't really getting that fouled, I'm actually going to flip it around and run it both ways. Get a little more mileage out of your patches. Save that 0.25 cents. So you can see they're getting a little better. You know, maybe we'll run a double patch, get kind of mean. What's the old saying? Get it tight, get it right, or something? I don't know. Don't cancel me. Oh, my little jag was almost coming off there. Can I even get it through? Let's try. No, we might have just goobered ourselves there. Well, those patches went somewhere else. Alright, so it's too tight to do a double patch. Single patch it is. Let's not get greedy. And that is, like, getting pretty dang good. Alright, we're gonna, for the sake of posterity, we're gonna do... You know what? I have one ammonia patch just chilling here. Screw it, we'll send it down. See if we can get any more funny blue lines. Oh, there we go. Lifted up some new stuff. Look at that. And now that we're gotten that through, I'll run a couple more dry patches. And for the finale, and this might be controversial, I do like to leave end on a wet patch. Not a soaking wet patch, just leave a thin film of oil in there. You don't know how long your gun's going to be sitting in storage for, or what conditions it's going to be stored in. So why not give it some nice corrosion resistance from the inside out. There we go. An ammonia patch will fit some more stuff. We'll do 3 more patches. And I'll kind of show you a picture of the first versus the final. I'll splice that in there so you can kind of see the difference of where we started versus where we ended up. And you know what? Let's get rowdy in the comments. Tell me how far you chase patches. Do you go right until you can do the white glove inspection, or are you a, you know, wipe once and deal with the itchiness later kind of guy? My jag keeps spinning off there. So I'm just sending patches out into the ether. I don't even get to see them anymore. They're just getting up on the ground and I'll find them later. Alright, final patch, and then I'll do my little wet one just to make sure we're all good in the hood. Alright, now, final wet one, tiny bit of oil, nothing crazy. Boom, plenty, maybe even too much. We're going to fire that through, assuming I don't miss it entirely. And, bada bing, bada boom. Well, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. That is from top to bottom how to clean your Type 81. We did the muzzle. We did the muzzle device, sorry. Did the gas system. Did the bolt carrier, dust cover. We wiped out the inside of the receiver. Cleaned out the breech face. Cleaned the barrel. And just for the sake of taking a little gander here, there's no one behind the camera, so I'm not flagging anybody. You'll poke the muzzle down a light and take a look. Oh yeah, that's a mirror polish. We did an excellent job today. And I'll throw in some images of kind of all the individual parts now that they're all tidy and clean. In the meanwhile, stay tuned for the mag dump episode if that's not out already. And thanks again. Keep your sights fixed on Barely Tactical. Until next time.
We did a poll on our Instagram not too long ago, and the winner was Shane, and the charitable donation he chose was the Canadian Cancer Society.